You want to go back to fundamentals. Let's attract a lot of people in. Let's work on the messaging to the main market and get that foot in the door. Hey, Jordan here from Set to Close. Thanks for joining me. Today we're talking about sales team development, and at the same time we're talking about how to structure and grow your sales team. So when you look at scaling in general, there are some rules that can apply, but I have to speak in generalities because every team is unique. It has different systems, processes, and people, and those are the things you need to scale. So what we're gonna do is kind of unpack each of those and see how it fits. So when I'm looking at SMBs specifically, not startups, SMBs, first thing I'll look at is where you're getting your sales currently and how you're getting those sales. A lot of companies, and I mean a lot, probably the 80%, are driven by the CEOs within these companies, or one of the executive leadership is the engine of sales for that business. And that's usually been composed of 10 to 12 really strong relationships that are driving those businesses forward, but they're not flying. And there's a reason they have a lot of difficulty bringing in new relationships. And so when we're extracting what do we do and how do we do it, we're looking first at what's your vision? Where do you want to go? How fast do you want to get there? Second thing, current resources, current structure, current state of everything that's in your corporation. And thirdly, who are the people involved? Now, to duplicate in small and medium business, it's a whole different play than when you try to duplicate in a larger company, because you have less resources and you're going to have more constraints on cash in most cases. So we first look at, okay, so the business owner doing everything, great. How have they structured what they're doing? Do they have good outbound? Or is it just current relationships that they've been riding on for a long time and extracting referrals from there? So once you've evaluated that, typically you're gonna come and set a system up, and you're gonna look to hire an individual to start doing more sales and bringing people in front of that business owner because they know their pitch well. So you're looking at, hey, opening up new channels, new leads, and then bringing in that closer, usually the business owner or one of the head of sales or whoever is in that organization, some are family-owned companies, to make that next step happen with those clients. And the whole goal here is kind of open the spigot of leads, so you're getting a lot of opportunities to kind of look at your buyer personas and your messaging and looking how to scale that. So the best way first is track it. So get a baseline system in place, a good CRM, a good remarketing system to be able to put that together. That's where you want to start, because if you're not measuring things as you go, you don't know how you're going to win. And then you kind of turn it on. Get some sales channels coming in. There's a bunch of different ones out there. We suggest starting outbound before trying to pour inbound leads in there, because you don't know your messaging yet. We don't know your personas perfectly yet, especially if you've been working just with concurrent relationships and referrals. You have those as maybe a benchmark, but again, the general market is a different world. It's like going from swimming in a lake to an ocean. There's different things to pay attention to. And those are the things you have to look at and be considerate of. So as you're doing this, you have the system first, and then you're looking at the messaging, the processes you're using, the buyer personas, the ideal client profiles, a lot of people call it. And you're working these out as you go. So systems to process. And at the same time, you're bringing that person in to drive leads through that system. That's usually that outbound hunter individual. That's where I like to start. I like to start putting volume into the system and seeing what's broken. Because it usually starts top of funnel. It's easier to work bottom of funnel than to try to fix everything at the bottom without the volume coming through. So I'm someone who's going to pour something into the funnel, try to figure it out and get more out the bottom as we go. That's kind of the methodology that I typically follow with a system, unless there has a huge amount of inherent risk to the brand, to the company, doing it that way. Guess and test, old, tried, and proven way of doing things. So as I go through that as a business owner, I want to put that hunter in play. Who is that hunter? First off, it has to be a lightning rod for that closer. That executive in that company, potentially the owner, has to give them energy, work well, and we want to train that person into that person who can close eventually. So you want to look for that hunter with the potential of closing in the future, and that's that strong strength that's there. When usually that CEO that's in place or that executive is a really good what we call farmer rancher, someone who's good with relationships, and also good closer. So you can be a farmer or a hunter, and both those things can be closers, but you can't be a hunter and farmer at the same time. You can be a hunter closer, you can be a farmer closer, but not a hunter farmer. That'd be like 1 in a million. You find the people who can do all of it across the spectrum. Really, in the new age of sales, we've been breaking up sales components into like hunters, closers, farmers, and then customer service, or what they're called customer success. So the breakdown of those positions in modern sales speech would be a sales development rep. And then we have our closer, which can be an account executive. You have your hunter closers, which are called your business development representative or business development managers. And then you also have your account managers, which are your farmers. Balance different titles based on SaaS or manufacturing, traditional versus distribution. There's different titles that work in there, but I hope that gives you a good idea about what those positions are. Now, leading into how do we wrap this all up and where we start? Well, we want to start top of funnel. We want to measure what's going on. And then we want to put some processes in place, which means documenting it out, figuring out what's working, and then split testing those actions. And in the new way of doing sales, it's all about educating the customer at the right time. So we focus on understanding what objections are coming up, what questions they're asking, and we're trying to figure out with good sales collateral and good intention within those cycles how to solve those problems. So that's how we at Set to Close come in and work with different companies, is we just start trying to figure out how do we start getting volume in here to test our theories, because everything is a hypothesis unless it's proven true. And so many people are going to sell you a deck of cards and tell you that's going to work. Here's your savior programmer, your savior processor, your savior person. It's never like that. It's a combination of those things. And you have to approach that topic fast, furious, with intention and great data. And that's what's going to produce that result as you go down. Now, I hope this provided you some wisdom into approaching this topic. It's a hard one. Remember, you always want to start top of funnel and work down, because then you figure out what's broken as you go along, and you figure out that top of funnel, a lot of leads is good, then you're qualifying. Process, put them through. So I hope that helps. Get a great CRM in play, get that hunter in the door. You can always train the closing aspect, because you usually have that in-house. If you're already a semi-successful business, you've obviously been able to rein in some cash. Now, if you are a startup, this is for the startup people out there. You're trying to get cash in. You're spending a lot, right? You've got a big burn rate. You want to go back to fundamentals. Let's attract a lot of people in. Let's work on the messaging to the main market and get that foot in the door. We can help you do that. So feel free to reach out. If you guys got some value from this, throw a like, throw a share up there. You can always go to our website and reach out to us and book a time. Happy to talk with you, and thanks for spending some time with me today.